Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of the Earthborne Games podcast. I'm your host, Anders. Joining me is the Earthborne team. Evan Simonette. Hey, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Nice and bright out.
It is. It's too bright behind me. I can't figure out how to fix that.
You've got a halo
visual other than tacking up a blanket in front of the windows. I didn't want to do that. So good to see you, Evan.
Yeah, good
I
to see you.
enjoyed our text conversation earlier today. I took the day off of work, and Evan and I have been texting. We also got Maxie Newman.
Hello, I'm here. I'm back.
It's good to have you, Maxine. And it was great to meet you in real life.
Yeah, that was cool.
We had a little meetup and ate some Laotian food. Is that what it is?
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, so loud.
Yes.
Solao.
Yeah, that was really
So
good.
good.
So good.
I
want to go back there.
I left before you ate yours. How was yours?
It was fantastic. I can't wait to go back.
Wonderful. We also got Andrew Fisher.
Hey, yeah,
How
we
was your food?
got a full house today.
We
Oh, my
do.
food was good. I brought. I didn't eat it there either, though. I brought it back to the family. I got the crispy fried rice. That
Oh, yeah.
Laotian food
Yep.
was real good.
Yep.
How did your baby son like the crispy fried rice?
I think that had a little too much spice for him, but
Okay.
that being any amount,
Mhm.
just the slightest amount is too much. But
Killer.
He's
we
true
we got
Minnesotan.
something else
Yeah.
for him, and he liked it. So
Yeah, because he's a baby or because he's Minnesotan
Yeah.
or both.
both, yeah, both.
And welcome back, Andrew Navarro. We missed you last time.
Yeah.
And you didn't eat with us.
No,
So
I didn't.
have nothing else to say to you.
I was sitting here wondering, is it Laotian or Laotian? I always now both sound weird.
Laotian. I'm sure.
Because Laos, right? So isn't
Yeah.
Laotian? Is it Laotian?
Laotian.
But that kind
Laotian.
of sounds like too much like Laotian.
I've always heard
Laotian.
Laotian, but
Laotian. Is that right?
yeah.
Why? It's not.
It's probably
yeah,
neither.
Yeah, it's probably not.
Yeah, we're gonna
definitely not how the native Laotians would pronounce it for sure.
Yeah, probably not.
The native lotions. And we are joined by a really cool guy, my brother from another mother. Sorry, I just thought of that. Could be a doppelganger. Are you 7 feet tall as well?
Sadly not.
Sadly not. Tom Figgins. Hi, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And Tom, where are you calling in from today, and what time is it there?
I'm in Yorkshire currently, and it's nearly 7:15 in the evening.
Oh, perfect.
So it's not sunny out. It's dark and cold.
And and for those wondering, Tom I don't know how recently you finished it, but he just delivered the score to Earthborne Rangers, and it's incredible. I really like it, Tom. I listened to it this morning. So impressive.
Thanks very much.
So
I'm glad you
we're
like
going to
it.
ask you some... Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, glad you like it.
Yeah, man. I'm going to ask you all about that, though, coming up. But you're going to join us for the whole episode.
Great.
So think of something that you're into to share at the end of the show, okay?
Thanks for the heads
Some
up.
extracurricular activity you'd like to talk about. But yep, we got a bunch to talk about. We're going to listen to 8 tracks, I think, from
5 tracks.
5. Okay, you delivered 8. You
Yeah,
decided on
we
5.
wanted some options.
Okay.
We could also like this way we can switch on the fly if we feel inspired to listen to something
Okay,
specific.
cool. So it's going to be kind of a listening party. We're going to pick your brain about your process and inspirations. But first, what's happening?
Yeah, I like this new segment name. This is a good segment name.
By the way, Tom, are you familiar with this podcast? Have you watched it?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I actually only recently started watching, but I've been listening to it since, well, maybe coming up 2 years.
Oh, wow.
No, 1
Nice.
year. 1 year.
1 year.
2 years, 1 year.
And do you only listen to the work story segment?
No,
Or do you
I listened the whole way through.
Good to hear. All right, let's talk about what's happening first. There's exciting stuff happening. I was excited to see an announcement earlier today. Anybody want to take the reins here?
Yeah. Well, so I think we were all very excited about this one. Like coming into this recording, it was very distracted by the Team Covenant live stream, which is happening right now, where they're playing Hubrold Eidolon, the preview decks that we surprised, announced, and released 2 days ago. It feels like it's all one long day. The experience has been a lot like the beginning of a crowdfunding campaign, which has been pretty surprising, but also awesome. Like the amount of energy around it has been just fantastic. So for anyone who doesn't know, I can't imagine many of our podcast listeners would know, but just in case, we are offering through Covenant free preview decks of Hubrold Eidolon. You can go to their website and order it. It is free for the price of shipping, so the deck itself is free. You get two decks in an order. You just have to pay the price of shipping, and you can try out Hubrold Eidolon yourself while supplies last. It's been moving really, really well. So if you want one, I would say you should go get it.
And what does the preview pack entail? I'm curious.
So it's 2 copies of our preview deck. That's the same deck that we showed at PAX Unplugged, with some minor revisions based on feedback from that demo. When you play, you'll be playing, like, each player has the same deck, but it also comes with 4 different seekers, so you can try out different seekers and see how they play differently with the same cards. But yeah, give you a nice little taste for, how did you phrase it, Fisher, in the Covenant chat? The fundamental elements or something like that.
Oh yeah, the fundamental elements of the game, right? Like we really tried to keep the cards just to the fundamentals to kind of show off all the basic mechanics.
And how complete are the cards? Is it like these are the cards?
No, they're under development. So the text is getting pretty close, to be honest. You'll probably see some modifications between these and the final flavor text added, some tweaks and cleanup made. The graphics are still very much, these are like placeholder graphics on these cards, but like the art and the text is pretty far along. So these are just kind of a preview for where the game is at right now. You'll see even an evolution off of these cards when we go to crowdfunding next month.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's also a new announcement. Is the date of our crowdfunding campaign, April 22nd, Earthborne Day.
Oh,
Hey, we finally made it happen.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's smart.
While we were on the preview decks, though, too, we've had a bunch of questions come in all the buzz around them. So I thought it might be good just to clarify a few of our most common ones. So first, we touched on a bit. One big question is how many decks come in an order? Andrew, you already talked about the same deck, just with different seekers to vary it up. And when you order, you get 2 of them. So you just need to place 1 order and you'll be able to play a duel with your friend. If you want to do a full 3 or 4 player game, however, you will need somebody else in your group to do a second order so that you have 4 total decks to be able to play. Couple other common questions. One I might shoot over to you, Andrew, is one very common question we've gotten because some of our international players shipping from North America is, the decks are free, but you still need to cover shipping, and shipping can get a little pricey. People are asking, will there be a possibility of a print and play or tabletop simulator version of this demo? What are the kind of plans around that?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about is that once we're past these preview decks being done, I think we will probably then launch our official TTS mod. I'm not sure if we'll do print and play, but we'll see. But you'll definitely be able to play it on TTS, and I think there's at least one unofficial mod up there right now that you can go play it right now if you want.
There's already
That was
there's a
quick.
fan made mod. I'm sure they'll get all the card images once the decks start getting in people's hands. But at the moment, it's like blurry images taken from packs and other promotional stuff.
All right, so play that version while you can, because that sounds kind of awesome in a way. But yes, you'll at the very least you'll have that. We will do an official demo, I think, as a TTS thing, and then it's going to be a while till the actual game comes out. So we'll want to preview the game in other ways, I think, between now and that day. So stay tuned.
Well, I just ordered it as you guys were talking, so that's
Nice.
cool.
We thank you, Anders. We would have also just given you a copy.
Yeah, I've got a box over here, but
I only see you like once a year in person, so
yeah, that's true.
It's fun to get things in the mail too. So
that I had that whole process happen in my brain. Cool. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we get to Tom?
Yeah, there's one other kind of frequently asked question about the demo decks is one is specifically around deck building. You can see the rules video as well as a kind of under construction rules glossary to help you play with the demo decks. So a lot of people have dug in and been talking about deck building. So a very common question we've gotten is, the deck building rules talk about like pips and stuff on cards, but on the demo decks, people aren't seeing any of that. And that kind of gets back to what I was talking about earlier with these decks kind of being a work in progress. The graphics are not final. We actually left off any deck building information since these decks are pre-constructed for you. So if you are looking for deck building information or anything, none of that is present on these decks. These are just packaged with what you get. But if you're curious about the deck building rules, you can go snoop in our rules glossary and see kind of a little bit of how those will work yourself. And when you see kind of the more far along graphics during our campaign next month, you'll really get to see what the cards will look like in combination with those deck building rules. So stay tuned for that.
Very cool. Anything else?
Yeah, so the only other thing I want to do is just a quick little this I guess would be like a Game Found update preview, because all of this will be in the next Game Found update for sure. But one thing I want to mention is that all English language proofs. Whoa, truck! Very
Whoa, truck!
Just like exploded next to me. All the English language proofs are approved at Ludo, which is exciting. So that means that that production is moving apace. We just got notification that the samples of the pewter Ranger minis, the long-awaited Ranger minis, are being shipped to Fisher's house for review. So that's very exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and sharing photos of those in a Game Fun update. And Fisher also received something today.
Woo!
whoa.
For those of you listening, I have the full final printed version of Legacy of the Ancestors in hand. And
Cool.
Stewart's the Valley, and the Errata Pack, and Moments on the Path. But
Nice.
holding up all these boxes was a little challenging.
Nice.
Just in today? What?
Yeah, Legacy, we've gotten some of these. They've kind of trickled in, but Legacy just finally showed up today. So I have in hand the final printed version that will be going out to folks. These perfect bound books look great, by the way.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
awesome.
nice. That looks awesome.
That's really cool. That's so exciting. Yeah, Fisher shared a photo of that in our in the staff Discord, and it's very exciting. Thinking about how it really dawned on me when you shared that, how long this expansion has been in development. It's been in development since the core game has been in development. So it's really cool to see it finally in the flesh.
Mm-hmm. Showing off cards.
Well, Fisher's going to do a video showing all this stuff in more glorious
I
detail.
think we'll get Evan and I to open up all the boxes on camera down in my basement, and we'll kind of go through it in detail so you can kind of see everything in all the boxes and everything. So keep an eye out for that. Evan, after my voice fully heals, you and I can find a time to get together.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's a nice looking box.
It's a very nice looking box.
All right. Well, should we transition
Yeah.
over? First of all, I want to know if Tom and Evan are also matching in the pants department. You guys also look a lot alike here today. Green shirt, dark t-shirt. No, you got buttons on yours.
I'm wearing very comfortable sweatpants right now, so I doubt it.
Yeah, black jeans.
Oh,
Oh, well, they're black sweatpants, so close.
But yeah, between the uniform between you and Evan and your likeness to Anders, you fit right in, Tom.
I figured
All right.
green would be on brand.
yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So Tom, we don't know you at all. What's your background? What do you do? Are you tell us about yourself.
Oh gosh, it's a terrifying question.
Is it?
So I'm a musician, composer, songwriter, and I suppose I've kind of probably always been. And yeah, when I left school, I sort of started a career as a singer songwriter, going out to pubs and clubs and playing guitar and singing, and trying to sell CDs, and getting paid mostly in beer. That was, the good old days. And yeah, I'd if I could, I'd try and play about 8 shows a week if I could.
Wow.
Wow.
Because there was a really good one that you could do on a Sunday where there was 2 over the road. So you'd do one and then leg it off stage and go to the next one. And then, yeah, I did that for a while. And then in about 2017, I stopped doing that. Had some real fun with it, and we did some cool stuff, but I needed a bit of a break. So I went and I was in a musical called Neverland, which was on in a place called Sheffield in London. And then the pandemic happened, and had children, and I was like, oh, maybe now's the right time to get back into music. And that's when I started composing again, and not wanting to be with children, not wanting to be out in the middle of the night, and arriving back at 3 a.m. from playing shows to be woken up at 5 doesn't sound that fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd sort of turn my hand to more composing and being more studio based, and that's how I got to here in a sort of quick way.
Yeah. Well, it makes me wonder, had you done any kind of composing of this nature before? This doesn't feel like singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah, not on, as in stylistically.
Yeah.
Yes. When I originally spoke to Andrew and sent him some sort of pieces over that I'd worked on, there was a podcast that I wrote some music for, which is a children's fiction podcast called Ben Luna, and I wrote the music for that. I think that did 3 seasons, and it's a story about a girl called Lillian who goes on an adventure, and I wrote the music for that. It's written and narrated by a friend of mine called Simon, and it was really wonderful to kind of create that world. And I think actually that was some of the music that Andrew sort of hooked into and said, okay, yeah, I can see something in this that has maybe got some parallels. And that was when we kind of dived in from there, I guess. But on this scale, no. This is the largest body of work I've ever created.
Very much in theme with the game itself.
Yeah.
The scope of the soundtrack grew certainly over time.
Yeah, well, I think it would have been hard for it to be any smaller. I don't really know any other way that I would have done it. I think even in that sort of first conversations, we knew that we wanted the runtime of the album to kind of cover a typical play time for sort of a typical average playtime. So it's just shy of 3 hours long. It's about 2 hours 40 something, I think. Yeah. So that was that's it's a beast.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's 250 or 251, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't crush that 3 hour. Next time.
It's not out yet. Stretch one of the tracks.
Let's just jump in and listen to something before we keep talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to listen to the Earthborne Rangers theme? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Main theme.
Well, it's just Earthborne Rangers. Yeah. Main theme.
Seems like a good place to start.
All right, we're gonna play some tracks and listen, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So enjoy Earthborne Rangers. Yeah, that was awesome.
Man, so
Man,
good.
I feel I just feel just pumped, ready to adventure the wilderness. That was great. I want to ask if anybody had any thoughts listening to that. Any Evan, Maxine, Fisher?
The very first time I heard this track, I teared up. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I teared up listening to this for the first time. Yeah. And almost a little bit right now.
Yeah.
For me, this I listen to like instrumental music like this a lot when I'm working or just doing like any sort of creative thing. So, you know, I don't know. It's right up my alley, and like it's going to be included in various playlists. You know, along with a few other of these songs, especially my favorite one, which is on the list that we're going to be able to listen to today. So,
Cool.
yeah.
One thing that popped out to me, I kind of helped with the process of creating a soundtrack for Descent Legends of the Dark while I was at Fantasy Flight Games. And, you know, we had kind of similar types of swelling music and things. One thing that we had to work pretty hard at iterating with the composer was creating like that main melody, that main theme that shows up and then, you know, gets reused and echoed throughout, and this song, I remember the first time I heard it, very clearly has that, right? And as you go through the different phases of the song, that theme shows up and is very prominent and, you know, kind of gets built upon and echoed upon. I one thing I'm curious about, having listened to, as I was listening to it, was did you start with that theme? How early did that because that really struck me when I first listened, is you immediately kind of hear that as it comes in, right? And then see it build. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, so in the process of writing all of it, it came maybe in the sort of the beginning, maybe about halfway through, I think. And I've got a lot of burnt copies which didn't make the cut. But we had a big chat about it, Andrew, didn't we? When we talked about some sort of references, and I knew that I wanted it to feel like a call to action, or something that felt like it was giving you a bit of a purpose. And yeah, the melody, I'm trying to remember where I was when I came up with it. But that sort of that little bit was what I sort of hooked into. And then I basically started to sort of mangle it and change it and come up with different flavors and different feels. And yeah, the beginning, I feel like I'm quite a visual songwriter. Like, I like to sort of imagine things. That's why I find doing this sort of stuff so enjoyable, is because I can, you know, basically, I was thinking about the beginning of a day in the valley, and how does it start? And if you were to give, I don't know, the wind some sort of motif that you might hear on the wind, it felt like that might be something that you might hear. And that's, I think, the reason why that one stuck and the other ones probably didn't make it, because yeah, this one did feel like it was doing what we wanted.
Yeah.
I think you're you talked about it kind of driving you forward, right? Calling you forward. I definitely feel that, right? And I felt it, you know, the first moment you hear it kind of come in, that plunky bit early, it's just already calling you. I thought that worked really well from the first time I heard it.
Nice.
Was this the first track that you wrote?
No, this was quite far along in the process. There was quite a lot of pressure around it as well. I knew that I wanted to write a theme, but I kind of didn't know what that was going to look like until I got quite far along in the process for where we wanted to sit. Right at the beginning, I don't know if we've got one of the tracks. Have we got the Buck in this one or not?
Yeah,
it's on the list.
So that's the first song that I wrote for this, and that was one of the demo pieces that I sent over to Andrew. And actually, is the only one that's played on a particular guitar. All the others are on my guitar that's here. And that one, because it was so early on in the process, is a different one, which is a nylon string that I borrowed from a friend.
Yeah. I think I was going to say like the first thing we really landed on was that the classical guitar, the kind of like this the nylon string guitar, and that became the I'm a giant guitar fan, and we like that was one of the kind of the sample tracks of like songs that I've had in my mind around what we could do with the soundtrack. Like that was a pretty early thing that I shared with you, Tom, that led to that. And I think that theme, I think we just really just wanted to make it feel like really iconic, like one of the most I think it's phenomenal. Like I tear up every single time I listen to that. Like this soundtrack has an immense emotional meaning to me. Like every time I listen to it, I'm very moved. Mm-hmm. But I think we really wanted to have like a theme like on par with like some of the great movie themes. So I think that was definitely, that's why there's like you said, there's a lot of pressure on that. I think I know we did talk about that, so it does kind of create this like, well, no, it's just got to be one of the best themes ever made. That's all.
On the nylon string point, when you sent over those original pieces, and I was obviously coming from, well, I hadn't really sort of thought of nylon string as a sort of option, and then you sent me over 3 pieces that very heavily featured nylon string, flamenco style guitar, and I was like, oh, okay, wow. Right, let's see how we can cross-pollinate these two worlds, and that's kind of where we ended up here. So it was a really nice left field option, which, completely, I wonder how sort of, like when you're writing stuff, you always reach for the stuff which feels most familiar. And I wonder how much I would have done that if that hadn't been sort of brought in so early in the process. So it's really nice that steered so much of the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sound fits so well. I'm wondering how much you were thinking about the world of Earthborne and what kind of sounds you would hear there. What kind of musical instruments you'd be hearing. Did you incorporate that into the instruments you chose?
We did do a bit. Like we talked quite a lot about how, I don't know if there's anything that's necessarily has tried to emulate something from the valley as such, but we did talk at length about like how would these things, be heard, and I did all want it to be sort of organic. I didn't want it to sit outside of the world space, if that makes sense. I wanted it to feel like that would be very at home in that sort of world. I mean, obviously, when you're out, solo ranger, you're not going to hear an orchestra, but but I wanted it to feel like something that felt at home in that place. And I think the nylon string is the thing which kind of anchors the whole soundtrack for sure.
So does that motif come back in other tracks too?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it definitely got me pumped. It felt like the opening of a great television show. Game of Thrones came to mind because that's what I've watched recently. But
I wanted to mention
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Evan. I wasn't saying anything good.
I was just going to say I the reason I love this music so much is because I grew up listening to this John Williams album. It's like the John Williams and the Boston Pops or something, and it was all of his great hits from like Star Wars and Superman and Indiana Jones and stuff. So I've been conditioned from an early age to like really be drawn to this sort of music.
I know this about you, Evan.
John Williams.
You love John Williams, Tom?
Yeah,
of course. Should we listen to the first track that you wrote?
Sure.
Buck and the Wolhund. Do you say Wolhund?
Wolhund is what I say.
Wolhund. The Buck and the Wolhund. Here we go. Wait, before we start, is there anything you want us to listen for or think about as we're listening to this?
So with this one, when we talked about doing the soundtrack in binaural and really making it quite specific for people who wanted to play on their own, who wanted a surround sound experience. So we mixed the album in Dolby Atmos. So there's binaural mixes. And one of the things which has been really key to that is the sound effects that have been used. So in this one, there's rain. And actually, the way that that's used within the session is the rain's actually moving. So it might be a stereo file, but it's moving in the space above the listener. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to hear that as such, but it creates a more 3D image than if it was just, but all
That's really
across
cool.
that album, there's sound effects like rain and wind and other weather that I can't think of at the moment. And it's all being moved around in the stereo space.
Wow. Did you mix this as well?
We didn't. We did the binaural masters at Church Lane Studios.
Okay, cool. That's really cool. All right.
Before we start, I realized I forgot to say the very important thing that I wanted to say near the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
That the soundtrack is available right now. If you want to buy the soundtrack, you can go to our website. There's a link. There's a link there. There's a link in the description of this video. And you can go to Bandcamp and buy the soundtrack. And you'll find when you get there also is that we're doing a limited edition vinyl that we currently have estimated shipping in August. So if you are an audiophile and an Earthborne Rangers fan, go ahead and get the vinyl. The vinyl comes with the digital copy as well. So I hope you enjoy it. Tom and I had an awesome time working. I had an awesome time working on this with Tom, and he's told me that he also enjoyed it. So we hope you enjoy it too.
And vinyl can't play that Dolby, can it? Can Dolby play the surround sound?
No,
no.
The vinyl.
No. So there's the album comes with two different mixes. You'll get the digital album comes with two different mixes. You'll get the stereo mix and the binaural mix. So
That's awesome.
if you have a good sound, like a really nice sound system or good headphones, you can binaural. Definitely, you listen to that one. If you're playing on your phone or something less optimal, you can use the stereo mixes. And then there's a slightly different mix on the vinyl. Because we had to make some revisions to the tracks just so they play well on vinyl.
Yeah.
So I think the vinyl one does not have the weather effects.
Yeah, no sound effects on the vinyl, just the music.
Yeah, we're more
Still
limited on the vinyl of what we can do. But
Right.
But yeah,
We're really pushing it with the first side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right up to the edge.
Badass. All right, let's listen to the Buck and the Wolhund. Beautiful. Another beautiful one, Tom. I want to ask everybody what do you see happening in the game when you listen to that? Or maybe Andrew Navarro, tell me, like, what did you see when you first heard that track? Because was that the first track you heard of Tom? Then I would assume.
It was obviously it was a much rougher version of that one,
right?
And then he also shared a different one that we turned into a track titled "The Leaf and the Breeze." That was also very early on, and those two were the standouts of the samples that he'd sample tracks that he put together that were really just fantastic. Like for me, so the next song, actually, I think that is the perfect example of like what I feel of like the like conjuring visuals of what's going on in the world. There's definitely some tracks that do that for me. This one though, like really, I just feel it. I don't know. All these tracks, I really just feel it. Like it evokes this really awesome, energizing feeling in me where I feel like I'm in the world somehow. And I think that it's also like that feeling is contributed to by the presence of the rain sounds, and it just feels so rich. So for me, I feel like I'm just kind of there. Like I feel like I'm in the forest, though it's more of a feeling than a visual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did anyone else conjure up a moment from playing the game?
I mean, just listening to it, I haven't.
Or type of moment?
Yeah, I didn't visualize anything from if I was playing the game. I just had this kind of abstract sort of duality of pushing and pulling playing out in my mind somehow. Almost seems like a synesthesia type of thing that I can't really articulate very well. I can't even pronounce the word very well. But that was, and I think strangely the weather in the music kind of helped perpetuate that in my mind. So it was really cool and beautiful to imagine while I was listening to it.
I think it's so interesting how, this music theory crap, but, like this combination of notes and types of instruments and the way these notes are put together, we're drawing on our experiences of how those things have been attached to other visuals in the past and yada yada. So, with a soundtrack like this, there's no predetermined visual, with that song. So Tom, like, how were you conscious of that, or were you thinking, okay, this is going to be for this type of moment, the Buck and the Wolhund, like how, I'm gonna score this, and if it happens to pop up at that time, then so be it. Or what were you thinking about there?
Well, we talked about kind of different ways that we might try and construct the album as such. And quite early on, I said, I'd really like to do a suite of music for each path type. And I knew that I wanted each, not location, each path type to have its own sort of personality. I know Andrew's mentioned Peter and the Wolf in the podcast before. And that was definitely a touchstone in the way that, instruments and the motifs and themes in Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf is used almost like conversation. And I tried to sort of assimilate a version of that, where to try and make the instruments and the themes feel like it was these places, talking to you or interacting with you. And, we talked about like, how do we create the music to do these wonderful things when people are doing wonderful things? And I think we settled on the fact that every now and again, there'll just be a wonderful moment when you just go, oh, wow, that's happened right at the right moment. Because it's, without doing a lot of, I don't even know how you do it. The technology, I guess, isn't there yet, but maybe one day where you can, it'll know what you're doing and it'll change.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. I bet those accidental moments are really exciting then. And
I had, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah. What happened?
I was going to say I had I don't want to spoil anything, so I've got to be careful with what.
Just be general, yeah. Just give a general idea.
I achieved something near a place, and the music did the thing at the right moment, and I was like, "Yes, this is amazing! This has done the thing that I wanted it to do."
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was very happy.
So you've important to note Tom has been playing with his friends with the soundtrack, like as part of the process.
So you're almost playtesting your soundtrack in a way.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
Was there ever a track where you thought this is just is too specific, and if this pops up at the wrong time, it's going to be odd?
Oh no, because it was never. I was never actively playing a piece of music at a specific moment, because those moments again are so hard to conjure up because the game is so live, and so it's hard to predict what's necessarily going to happen. I guess
I think we do have one track, because we did try to be mostly try to create music that is pretty broadly applicable, even though there were definitely like things that inspired Tom that were like all the track titles for the most part are all me. It was mostly like me listening to it after the fact and then like jotting down options and then
interesting. Okay,
changing them around, because they were they're very kind of like placeholdery, but they were also indicated the things that Tom was like inspired by to create the track. So part of what I wanted to do with the naming was make them a little bit more general, so that you didn't feel like, oh, this isn't applicable to me as I'm going around the valley. But there is one track that is very specific to a very specific card that I think could still work, but it kind of creates more like this thing's off in the distance somewhere. We should.
So should people be aware of this so they can turn it to that track?
You'll know it when you go and, because you'll be able to look at the track list right now. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's the one.
So,
while the track names are general, I will say this one is the Buck and The Wolhund is specifically matches a name with a card.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was part of my thinking in the titling. Yeah.
There it is.
I couldn't help myself as we.
Nice.
I was digging around earlier. So this is the card, the Buck and the Wolhund, from the new Tail Spinner set. They have the tales that are like either stories they tell or songs they sing, and I love that one of these songs matches up with one of these tales. I think is very cool.
Yeah. I thought it'd be cool to like, now you can imagine more of what that story is by listening to the music. That's cool.
Yeah.
Tom, I just want to back up and ask you. So I assume you're a fan of the game before you decided to do this. Was there a moment while you were playing the game where you thought, "Oh, I can do this"? When did you first conceive of, "Hey, maybe I could do the soundtrack to this game"?
So I got a copy, very luckily, when I think you must have put out a tweet or an Instagram post saying there's some UK copies for the first edition, and I went, right, go, and did and got a copy, and I guess at that stage I'd heard a lot about it, but I hadn't done so much research because it came up as such a sort of surprise, and I knew that I wanted to get my hands on a copy. I was like, oh right, well let's do it now. Let's strike whilst the iron is hot, as it were. And then as I was playing it, I kept on putting on music and kind of going like, oh yeah, I mean, it'd be really cool if this had something, something specific. And then I play a bit more and I go, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if it sounded like this? And then I'd probably had the game for maybe about 3 weeks, and I'd probably played about 5 or 6 sessions, I think. And I remember it so clearly. I was sat in a car park waiting for a job to start that I was working on, and it was Easter last year, Easter weekend, and I just thought, right, I'm just going to email and just see if they're interested and see what happens. and then a bit of time went by, and I was like, oh well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And then got an email, Andrew Navarro, in my inbox, and I was like, what's and then we chatted, we met up and discussed, and then we began.
And
how many? That was. I feel. Cool. Did I answer your question? I do this a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Were you playing solo? Were you playing with friends?
No, with people.
Cool.
Yeah, with people.
How many hours would you say this took? How many people were in your orchestra as well? I'm curious.
So we didn't. So the orchestra, the full sound of the orchestra is samples, but then we had solo players come in and play first chair positions. So one of my longtime collaborators, Tom Hobden, was the violinist, and we had a cello player called Ian Burge come in. So we had a small group of musicians, and then obviously the guitars being played by me. And then we had some percussion as well, done by a friend of mine called Gary Stewart. It was a smaller group of players as well, because of the length of the work. I mean, unless you booked a orchestra, which still would have, probably taken a lot of days to record. We thought we did 2 days of strings tracking, and we worked like stink to get it all done in time. we worked we barely stopped for lunch. It was a big session.
That's cool. Yeah, I kind of said that as a joke. I assumed it was digital instruments, but not from what I heard, but just assuming that. I think a lot of people compose that way now. And was it like a full-time gig for you for a while, or was it nights and weekends?
Yeah, no, it was it was a full-time thing all the way through. I had the odd job coming in here and there and doing things for a bit of time. I remember I had, before we started, I'd already had 2 weeks in the summer sort of booked to go away, and I was there like watching the days go by, going, oh gosh, time's ticking by. I need to get my skates on. And one of the pieces actually I managed to write sat in the front room of this place in Scotland, which was I can say the names of the tracks, can't I? Because they're not secret anymore. Which was the Naiad piece, which was written by the sea in Scotland, which is very
cool.
That's awesome.
So cool.
That's super appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, let's listen to something else. Yeah? The Thief. Do we want to listen to The Thief? Are we still on board with The Thief? Okay.
Yeah, it's a short one.
Anything you want to say before we listen?
No, I'll say it after, so I don't
okay.
Unduly influence anybody.
Okay. Here we go. The Thief. cool.
I love it.
I love it too. I hear the Peter and the Wolf.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we talked about Peter and the Wolf before this one, but this one really evokes it.
Yeah.
I love the plucked string instruments. If that's what it was, I don't know. Was it, or is it harp?
Yeah, a bit of both.
Cool. All right, Andrew, what were you going to say about this?
I love the storytelling in this piece.
Oh yeah,
like I think. So the original title of this was The Kleptic Raccoon. So this was inspired by the Kleptic Raccoon.
There he is.
And
that's great.
When you have that in mind, you can kind of imagine the raccoon discovering the Rangers and then kind of like following them along. And then I love the turn at the end of the piece where it's like it takes this little dark little turn at the end where I feel like the raccoon grabs whatever he's been stalking. I think it's great. I think it's great. And this is I was so happy when I heard this song. This is like Tom and I we had so many meetings and lots of just talking about inspirations and like I would share. I thought whatever came into my mind, regardless of how unapplicable it may seem, just like things that really that tickle me musically, or that I really enjoy in music. And I remember there was I shared a Megadeth track with him that I loved off of Rust in Peace. It's called Lucretia, which has one of my favorite like turns and rhythm and I don't know what it's called, but they kind of like take the main riff and they kind of twist it in this really cool way at the end. And I always really love the end of that song. And I shared that with Tom. And then a few weeks later, we got this one. So I was like, awesome. It's great because it does a similar thing at the end where it takes the melody and does this cool little twist to it. And it's just, I love it. I think it's so great.
Tom, did Andrew turn you into a Megadeth fan?
He tried.
He got me. I like Rest in Peace. That's cool.
Yeah, I need to spend more time with it, I think.
I think I know the track you're talking about, Andrew. So I have a few more questions for you, but they might have already been covered a little bit. But I was curious. So it's not a film or a show or a video game. So how does one approach, scoring a tabletop game? And is it common? Do people do this often?
There are soundtracks to games. I don't know if I would not say it's done often. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's ever been done like this.
Tom, did you know that
degree?
Right, previously? Did you think this is a novel idea?
I certainly didn't go, this is, I know of this as a concept. Let's see if we can make this happen. I think it just spoke to me on such a sort of, I think I'm really interested by world building and world building with music. And I think when I was so captured by the first time that I played Rangers of just how much I could see in my brain of what I'd done in that day in the valley. I was like, I was just completely blown away by that amount of, like, I felt like I was reading a book, but actually I was playing a game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really stuck with me for the next couple of playthroughs, where I was like, I feel like this. I feel like I could add something to this, and I think that's why that was the thing which spurred me to want to make it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know of it as a concept for other games, or I certainly didn't sort of enter it that way forward. It was more of an emotional response, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only games I can think of that have had soundtracks even remotely similar to this have been app-based games or games that have a digital component. Like you mentioned, Descent earlier. But like, I would say most of the music out there for tabletop games are like generic, like here's music for your D&D campaign or that kind of thing, which I've used in my D&D campaigns, but nothing quite like this, nothing on this scale, nothing this specific to a specific game, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to your point, Maxine, we did have a composer work on music for Descent Legends of the Dark. And actually, too, Tom, your earlier discussion of like the music reacting to what you do. One cool thing we were able to do with that, because the game was app integrated and the music was coming from the app, is we actually used a video game kind of piece of middleware called Wise that allows us to kind of make the music more reactive and like do different things that parts of the music that drop in and out based on what is happening in the game, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, more like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And so we could make it a little reactive at the time. But again, that's just like coming from your phone or whatever as you're playing this game, you know. And I think that, like, you know, we were building it a lot more to kind of just fill out this app as opposed to this, which is being kind of tailor composed to kind of like, to your point, Tom. Excuse me, sorry. To your point, Tom, this like kind of story experience. So I don't know if I've ever done something exactly like this for a game before.
I think more the reason to put it on Tabletop Simulator, right? I wonder if you could integrate it, you know, with some of that reactive stuff.
Does TTS surely TTS's music compression and stuff would do a disservice to this mix?
We don't need TTS to make my computer fans run any harder than they already do.
Yeah, I think the one thing I will say is like while this is obviously inspired by Rangers and composed for the game, I think definitely a goal of mine, and I think it was clearly a goal of Tom's, because I think we achieved it, was just making a really good album, like with really good compositions. Like this soundtrack has like some really good tracks on it, and I think you know, even if you're not playing it, as I still haven't played it and listen to it while I'm playing. Like I listen to it driving the car. I listen to it doing work. Like it's just great. It's just great to listen to on its own. So I think that really speaks to the compositions that Tom put together, where they're not just kind of like endlessly meandering, like a video game score that has like kind of like a looping hook that just kind of keeps going and then it's kind of forgettable. Like all the songs are actually memorable, and I guarantee you will be humming them for a few days.
Can confirm.
Yeah, we got some good ones in there, some real good ones.
The previous track. Oh, sorry.
No.
The previous track that we listened to, the Buck and The Wolhund, that's like the first track that I turn on when I start work in the morning. It like really gets me in the mood and gets me like into the world, and I tend to listen to the entire soundtrack through after that. So yeah.
That's awesome. Definitely that I think because of the stage that was at in the writing process, I knew that I wanted to just really sort of push the mood quite hard, and I think that's probably why that track feels. I mean, I genuinely feel like I've been stood in the rain for a whole 5 minutes when I've been listening to that. It's I like that one. I do like that one.
Let's listen to another one. Let's listen to Lament for the Estians.
The Estians.
Estians. Here it is. Wow. Andrew, you were feeling something there. What are you thinking?
Man, it's so sad. It's so sad. We're gonna do one more track. We'll bring the mood back up.
Well, it sounds
man,
like
that cello is
Yeah.
just cellos in general are just brutal,
Mournful.
brutal on your emotions. That song is so good.
yeah, it's played really well too. That obviously was a real cello, right?
Yes.
It makes me think about how cool. I mean, just this whole idea of scoring a game like this is so interesting to me. Because what if thinking about if that track pops on when something that doesn't really match it is happening, but like, what can that? How does that inform maybe how you perceive what is happening? You know, like, oh, is there a sadder edge to what I'm doing here? You know, I think that's really cool.
I was thinking about like which, I've been pulling out cards for these different pieces, and I was trying to think of which cards match this piece. And there's a bunch in Legacy of the Ancestors that are all too spoilery for me to share. But basically, this whole box, like, if this feels like the theme of this whole expansion, basically.
Ooh.
I agree.
Like,
yeah.
And I had
There's a ton.
very vivid imagery listening to that about story elements playing out in my mind for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Legacy of the Ancestors, Tom's working on the soundtrack for that right now.
Oh, really? A whole
What?
other soundtrack?
I did not know that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had so much fun. We're going to keep it going.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Awesome.
That's sick. Well, now I definitely have to get the vinyl.
I don't know if we'll do a vinyl for that one. Depends on how
okay,
popular
okay.
the vinyl
That's
the
fair.
first one is.
That's fair.
Evan, did you do the vinyl art?
We're working on it.
Cool.
I mean, it's in progress.
Are you doing like a gatefold or a single? Is it going to be a double album? Obviously. Triple?
It's a four disc album.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
3 hours long. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 hours fitting on vinyl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it going to be black vinyl or?
It's this eco vinyl. It's like made out of reclaimed oil, and the only options they have on the eco vinyl are colored. So it's like a marbled green.
Dang. This
That's
is very
cool.
appealing.
Yeah.
Hook me up with one of those, you guys.
I actually live.
Well, I'll let you buy one.
Yeah.
A little spendy, I assume.
Yeah, they're a little spendy. They're very expensive to make.
Hey, I bought the sample pack. Can you at least?
I'll cut you a
Previewed-
deal.
No,
I'll
that's
cut you a
okay.
deal. You don't want to play full price, so I'll cut you.
Yeah,
a deal.
you got to cover cost of goods and tariffs these
Yeah.
days.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of winding up this interview here. Do any of you have anything you'd like to ask Tom about this?
Yeah, I guess before we move on from that track, Tom, call out maybe the cellist and maybe a little bit about
Ian.
that experience of recording, because that sounded like pretty wild. Like we didn't have him for very long.
Yeah,
He
we
just
had him for a
banged that thing
morning.
out.
And pretty much everything was just like one take. He's just like, yep, cool, next. He was really good, because you have to kind of split up the way that you write it, so you don't write just one piece of music. So you do a pass of like the short staccatos, and you do a pass of the legatos, so that you have it, because you might want to treat them slightly differently. With this one, it was a bit more of a press record and let Ian do his thing. So Tom, who plays violin and viola on it, who also did some of the arranging, and all the way through this process was someone that I used as a sounding board for like, is this any good? And he who has also backed the Game Found. He has so he said that we were going to have Ian coming in to do the cello parts, and I thought, okay, great, I'd really like to write a solo cello piece for this, and this was that, and I had a lot. This is one of my favorite pieces on the soundtrack, I think, not just because it's really sad and I like sad music, but I do like sad music.
Yeah. Speaking of things you like, I'm curious, were there any major influences on this project in particular that you were drawing from?
I mean, I listened to a lot of. Well, we had a not SoundCloud, a Spotify shared playlist, didn't we, Andrew? I was making one with, I can't remember what was on it now.
Megadeth?
But lots of things, yes, lots of Megadeth. I've got 4 playlists that I made. Yeah, so lots of things like this piece in particular was quite sort of Max Richter inspired. I listen to a lot of piano music as well, and play a lot of piano. And we made quite a conscious decision early on to not have any piano on the soundtrack at all, because I think one of the rules that I gave myself was that all of the instruments had to be something you could carry with you.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I think, and there's a piece as well. Hang on, I'm getting sidetracked. Andy. Yes, so everything was meant to be something that you could carry. So I listened to Max Richter, a lot of Oliver Arnold's, a lot of Junkie XL, and soundtracks for and Hans Zimmer, love Hans Zimmer, and John Williams as well. Those are kind of the big sort of touchstones. I knew I wanted it to feel as epic as the world was presenting itself. Like I wanted it to feel like it was as far-reaching as the game was in my head. Like I wanted to try and hit the same levels that I felt the first time that I played it, and I wanted to try and capture a bit of that.
I think you definitely achieved that. Should we part with Clouds Do Part? Or is there not part, but should we end the listening session with that?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Anything we want to set this up with?
You can do the DJ lead in for it.
Here is Clouds Do Part by Tom Figgins. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that one. Tom, are you perhaps a fan of Badly Drawn Boy?
I like Badly Drawn Boy a lot. Yeah, he's good.
I hear some of
That
that
was
in there.
thanks.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a great one. Do you want to say anything about that track?
It was really fun to write that one.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you have to really wrestle with a song to make it come into the sort of version that you want it to be. But that one just kind of happened really quickly, and those ones are always nice.
Yeah, the energy just felt right. Like it's in the groove, it's in the pocket or something. It's weird to say that with classical music, but it just feels like, the energy is there for sure.
Yeah, that one is my favorite one that I've heard so far. Really well done.
Cool.
Thank you.
I loved the other track we didn't listen to yet, like Under the Waves or something, or Beneath the
Surface.
Yeah, that was cool. It kind of changes. It kind of sounds a bit different from the rest. Like that.
There's a few on there that are a little bit more signature to like more specific places and things that have a kind of like a I don't know. I always think of like the underground or underwater world in Mario. It's like just it kind of stands out. It's a little bit different. There's a couple. There's one in particular. It's not that one. That one is pretty different, but there's one in the river section that is very funky.
I think I know which one you're talking
Funky.
talking about, and I really like it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. Like I was just observing like in myself like what it makes me want to like literally look up. It's so hopeful.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Yeah,
You must have hated making that one, huh, Tom? sad song guy.
Well, it's always nice when a happy song is exciting. I think the excitement in it was the thing which I was really trying to push. And there's a specific thing that it was kind of written about, which I don't want to talk about because we've done quite a lot of work to sort of steer things away from being too specific, name wise. But yeah, it was meant to emulate the feeling of something that happens in the game.
You can say it. It's fine. Like you don't have to obfuscate it. If you don't say it, I'll say it.
Well, it was really specifically meant to feel like the sensation of riding the spider lines. And I wanted to have that feeling of traveling through the air, and the bit when it goes, all the bass is going that was meant to be the feeling of looking down and going, oh, I might fall and die.
That's really cool.
But yeah, that was the kind of the origin of that one. And yeah, the sort of the levity in it. I think it was meant to be playful and fun, and that was what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think it's such a lovely, triumphant, and hopeful piece. Like I feel like it. Yeah. It's a good thing to come up when things are going your way.
These these pieces evoke a lot of thoughts of when I'm camping and out in the wilderness, and like the Buck and the Wolhund really kind of evoked being in like I have a lot of memories hiking along streams, upstream beds and things in the north woods of Minnesota on like a rainy day, right? And then this one, I do some trail running too when I'm backpacking. So I like wear trail runners and have an ultralight backpack, and also I'll like run or like jog, I guess. And this really reminded me, the Clouds Do part really reminded me of that. Like when I'm running along the trail, right? And you like get up on a ridge and you're just like cruising, and you're kind of having to do footwork to make sure you don't twist your ankle as you're trying to like run across this path, but you're kind of like there's always energy and drive forward. Is like it very much kind of fires those neurons and makes me remember those runs and those hikes.
For me, this song makes me think of more element, and I have a more elemental feeling. Like to me, it's just like creative energy, like rising up and like finding its pace or something. Like over the course of a creative project. And then just like being done, hitting that point that you want to be at or whatever. So
Definitely. Well, that was the last track we have to share today. And I think we don't need to ruin this moment by talking about some dumb crap we're into. This was really fun. I loved this. Congratulations to you both. To you all. To me too. Somebody get a deal on the vinyl. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up there. Yeah,
That sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
well done, Tom. It was a
Thanks
pleasure
for
meeting
having
you.
me.
Yeah,
Good
thank
job
you.
on the soundtrack.
Thank you.
Hope we get to talk again when the next one comes out. Do another listening party
Yeah, cool. I look forward to
And
that.
and go check out
and just
the Bandcamp.
oh yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say just a reminder to everybody that you can get it right now, right? And Andrew, where should they go?
Just go to our website. We should also have a link in the description of this video or the podcast. There should be a link going to the page. But go to our website. We'll have an announcement there. Probably in the we'll have the blog area where you'll be able to click it. But we'll also have an option on the main menu there to click down into to buy the soundtrack. But we'll try to link it everywhere, at least when this comes out, so you'll have lots of options.
So go check that
You could
out.
also just search for it on Bandcamp.
Check that out. Also order the what do you call it? The preview deck.
Yes, the Hub World Eidolon preview deck while supplies last through Covenant.
All right. Well, thank all of you. I thank all of you listeners, no matter how you listen to this podcast. I thank you for joining us. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.